Spectre of another conflict is haunting millions of pacifists across the world. It seems that the United States and its allies are going to teach a tough lesson to Iran and Israel. A close ally of the United States believes that Iran is at the weakest point of its modern history because its proxies in the Lebanon, Hezbollah, stands decimated. The same could be said about Hamas, that has more or less been dismantled, while Houthi rebels in Yemen are not going to be as effective as they were in the past. So for Israel, it's the nice opportunity, but it is trying to seek a regime change apparently, which many critics believe is not possible. If we look at the result of regime change, they have been mixed. For instance, the United States sought it in Libya without actively intervening there, letting France and the United Kingdom intervene there and carry out, sort of change, regime change there, toppling the government of Gaddafi. The same happened in not exactly the same, but it also happened in Syria, where United States had limited intervention, and its allies also intervened there, but mainly it was the militant groups there that fought anti-Bashar forces that played a major role, and one of U.S. allies, the Kurdish fighters or SDF, that also played their part in toppling the government of Bashar al-Assad. Ironically, that insurgency had been snuffed out by the forces of Bashar al-Assad, but because of, according to some critics, because of a sort of understanding or tacit understanding between Bashar al-Assad and the United States on the Bashar al-Assad and Russia on the one hand, and Russia and the US on the other hand, paved the way for the departure of secular dictator Bashar al-Assad. Now the question is that in these countries, United States had very limited military intervention. In case of Iraq, it had to engage itself heavily with hundreds of Americans or possibly thousands of Americans losing their lives or got wounded during the second Iraq war, and uh, the US also and its allies also engaged heavily in Afghanistan to topple the government of the Afghan Taliban, but they could not bolster or they could not prop up the government that was installed there for a very long time. So now it has to be seen that if the United States really wants to carry out a regime change in Iran, it's not going to be that much easy. The first thing that, unlike Saddam Hussein, Ali Khamenei, who is a political leader as well as spiritual leader, is widely respected among the Shiite of world. And Shiite are not concentrated just in Iran; they constitute majority in Iraq and Bahrain as well. While one can see their significant presence in countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and other parts of the world. So decimating Khamenei or arresting them could, according to some critics, could trigger a terrible backlash, and there could be consequences for that American action, because a number of Americans are stationed in Middle East, in Qatar, in Jordan, and other parts of the Middle East, and they, according to some experts, are within the range of Iranian missiles. Although the last conflict with Israel, where the United States also played an important role in dismantling the nuclear infrastructure of Iran, Iran greatly got weakened. There are experts who believe that the Islamic Republic is still equipped with long range missiles, with some estimates suggesting that the country may have more than 2,000 missiles. Some of them or many of them might target Israel as well, and of course the military bases in the region, American military bases. And it could be very catastrophic because if it results in American casualties, then it could be politically very counterproductive for Trump and his mega project. His colleagues or supporters in mega have already made it clear a number of times that the United States should not go on war for the sake of other countries. Some of them do not name Israel, but naturally they are referring to it. Now the question is that how can the United States carry out a regime change in Iran, which is in terms of geography, it is one of the largest countries, at least in the region. And if the United States does manage to topple the government of uh, the current managed to topple the current regime. Sorry, there is a strong possibility that Iranians would uh, launch a guerrilla war, and then in guerrilla war, you can never predict because it is hit and run. United States suffered a lot because of that guerrilla war in Afghanistan. It suffered a lot because of that guerrilla war in Vietnam, where it lost more than 50,000 soldiers, with some estimates suggesting around 55,000 soldiers, some estimates suggesting 70,000. Besides, many soldiers also got maimed or wounded for life, and United States had to spend a lot of money. And then of course it's going to be a costly war. War are always costly. They are bloody, but they are also bloody profitable, as some critics have said. So according to Watson Institute of Brown University, the United States pumped more than $8 trillion into war on terror, mainly into war of Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, given the fact that the American people have already facing a lot of economic hardships, can the United States afford to pump a lot of money again into a conflict that might have far-reaching effect on its economy? Because if Iran is attacked, there are speculation that it is sure to block the Strait of Hormuz, the biggest choke points in the world, the biggest choke point in the world, and of course that could see the prices of oil skyrocketing, dealing a severe blow to American economy, and of course that might go some way in undermining or in denting reputation of Donald Trump or affecting his popularity. And especially if there are casualties, then can uh, Trump afford to lose his popularity because of those casualties? So apparently, the dilemma is that Donald Trump does not want to commit troops. And without committing troops, without sending ground troops, there is no possibility that you can prop up any government that you might install after toppling this theocratic regime or Iranian regime. So it will be very difficult. Then, of course, the possible conflict has the potential to become a regional conflict because Iran has already warned that if a neighboring states or any state in the region allows United States fighters jet or allow its airspace to be used by the US, then Iran has already made it clear that it's going to target that certain country. And especially if Khamenei is assassinated, then many critics believe that it's going to be catastrophic. The Shiite living in different parts of the world might erupt. Iran, Khamenei especially has a lot of influence in Iraq, where America also has its military bases. There would be tremendous pressure on Iraqi Shiite government to take a decisive position if any harm is done to Khamenei, who is not only spiritual leader but a political figure as well. Ayatollah Sistani, who is one of the most well-respected person in the Shia community all over the world, there would be tremendous pressure on him to take side with Iran in that situation. So the region is the conflict is going to be regional, and there would be ramifications of that conflict. So as far as uh, history is concerned, history of regime change is concerned, as I have told you that there are mixed responses like in Libya and Syria without heavy or active military presence of the United States. The US managed to carry out regime change. In Venezuela, they did it with very little efforts by creating a sort of a cabal within the Maduro government that somehow cooperated with the United States and doing Washington's bidding. The same cannot be said about Iran because Iranian regime is ideologically motivated, and of course, khamenei is very powerful, but there is also a guardian council which is very powerful. The mullah or clerics of Qums are very powerful. Then the Iranian different branches of Iranian army, they are very ideologically very motive. And no matter what anti-Iranian critics say or anti-regime critics say, the regime still carries or still has a modicum of public support, which is likely to increase in case of any foreign intervention. Though the party that had been persecuted in the aftermath of the Iranian Revolution and which was not given political freedom, even its spokesperson or its statement have made it very clear that if there is any aggression against Iran, they are going to side by with the theocratic regime of ayatollahs despite all differences. And one of the Iranian Nobel Prize holders has also made it very clear that if there is a foreign intervention, it will only serve to increase the popularity of the clerics and the theocratic regime sitting in the power corridor of Tehran. And of course, then this question of Iranian missiles, they do have reasonable range, and they could target Israeli cities, and especially if they manage to target some American bases, resulting in casualties, that could be a very disturbing thing for Trump. And Trump, being very unpredictable, could go to any extent to maintain his popularity or increase his popularity, which is a terrible specter. And any major uh, loss of American might prompt white warmongers sitting in power corridors of Washington to use any weapons that might be very destructive and annihilating. So all eyes are focused on Middle East, and one needs to see whether the plans of the Americans and Israelis to carry out regime change could be successful, especially without ground American troops.